How do I get started? In games? Well, I'm an actor, audio person and director, so it's a kind of thing that's always been in my blood. You know? So I started acting and directing when I was a teenager. I started doing street theatre, so that was how I did it, and I just loved doing comedy stuff that made people laugh in the street. I got spotted doing it on the street by a theatre company, and they asked me to join the company, and then I got a place at drama school. But then I met a roadie in a band, and while I was waiting to go to drama school, I went on tour. 10 years later, I came off tour. So I went on the road for 10 years, basically, but I worked with loads and loads of different bands, and then I got into the studio side of music. But then I discovered the early LucasArts stuff, Day of the Tentacle and all that kind of stuff, which I loved. And my all-time favourite game was, I think it was about 95, but I was actually already in the industry then, I think. Yeah, it was, because it was Full Throttle. I just loved Full Throttle, you know, and I just thought this was the standard for all games dialogue. But at that time, LucasArts were ahead of the game by years and years, you know. And because I had a background in studio, in acting and directing, you know, it just seemed to be a natural thing. Then I got a call one day for somebody who wanted to build a voice studio for video games. So what happened, you know, back in the day, you know, the developers would just record their own voices for the games, but the games are still being localized. And they said, well, we couldn't just get the translators to do the localization. You know, so how do they do it? And I helped set up a sort of network of dubbing studios in Europe for this company, and they built a studio in Sheffield, and just asked me in initially, just as a consultant on the recording studio side of it. And I went in and met it, and I thought, oh, this is so cool. And I did the consultancy, and then they asked me to run the studio. I ran it for a few months, got headhunted to go and do it for somebody else, and looked after another couple of studios. But then I wanted to really get onto the sort of creative side, and so I set up OM in '96. Yeah, so we started kind of small, but the first game we did was Need for Speed for EA. EA were our first clients. I think we did the original EA Need for Speed Road Challenge. We started growing. This is the 5th studio we've built. Originally I built the studio on the side of my house. It was really nice, and people used to come out into the country. You know, our only neighbours were sheep, and it was kind of really cool. We did all sorts of stuff there, you know, things like Stuart Little. We started in the Formula One series for Sony there. We did all the Sony stuff from like early 2001, 2002, right till they finished their franchise with it. Wipeout, loads of other titles we recorded there. We started working here about 10 years ago.
Okay. And
then we took it on, took over the lease here in 2008, so we've been here for 5 years. And we've way past 500 productions now. We do facial capture here for that fight, you know. And we're actually developing tech to work with the facial capture that ties into the script, ties into the audio, all in real time. But a lot of our work is international. I think a lot of the best writing we're finding, the most innovative stuff, is a lot of stuff comes out of Germany. But and there's great writers who want to get into gaming, but they don't understand gaming. And it's, for games, gameplay is king. And what you're doing with a story needs to match gameplay. They need to work together. You know, story makes gameplay phenomenal, but you need phenomenal gameplay in the first place. But it's just like, you know, really good gameplay without character is empty. The games industry, it's been very much like boiling the frog in production terms, in the sense of there are production models that have always existed before games. So you've got the film industry, you've got the music industry, you've got radio, and all those production models are designed for linear media. And you know, and all the studios have evolved and grown out of those industries. And what happens with the games industry, we've been shoehorned we've just gone into the studios because the studios are there. And when we build studios within the game industry, they've actually built studios on a model that is not really voice-centric for games. For instance, any other media is a piece of string, I always say. Beginning, end. It's just a wiggly bit. However it gets there, it's a linear thing. It's short, it's straightforward, one thing follows another. Within a game script like this, we're dealing with over 100,000 words of dialogue in this one. It's massive, and it is a map. As such, it's all about relationships. So you've got this massive complexity. And one of the reasons is I'm going about it in a very roundabout way, but one of the things about performance, the only thing that gives performance integrity is context. And getting the actor into the context is really important. And to my mind, that is, the technology supports them, but the microphone, that means they can physically get into context. So if you watch when he was doing Monkus and stuff, it's like, yeah, he's down here. And you know what? Some of the actors coming right up to the glass to say their lines, or you know what I mean? It's a very physical thing to act and to be a character. If you are stuck in front of a mic where you have to be that distance for the mic for it to sound right, your performance is going to be stiff, constrained. So that's the first thing I did, was actually get the actors so they're released from the constraint of having to think about the microphone, so they can just think about the character. So there's a whole philosophy about the way we've designed the studio and the way we've designed the technology, because I've designed the technology for the studio as well. So luckily, I know what I want. I can communicate what I want, and the guys who work with me go and build what I want. So we've got all the players here, and you can pull up all the characters, all the screens, and basically every asset that that has been created for the game can be instantly brought into the studio. So you've got the character, you've got the scene. If you've got music available, that can be played. If you've got sound effects which are pertinent to the scene, they can be brought into the scene. So it's about bringing the context to the actor. So this is the scene, the screen that the actor sees in the studio, and we can just instantly navigate anywhere. And as soon as they get to the scene, you click on a line, you know where they are, you know who's speaking to who, you can hear who's speaking to who, etc., etc. So it's all about the connection of all those characters and making the context work. And that has been my baby for the last 10 years now, really. I use a lot of improv. We use a lot of actors who do improv because it is about that immediacy. But I think it's about any professional actor. A play is that piece of string, it's a piece of road. So you're driving down a piece of road, so they'll read the script. Okay, I drive down the road, traffic lights. I decide to go through the orange light. Go through the orange light. You hit a mother and child. You kill the child, right? Then you read that as your script for the play. Then what you're doing then is rehearsing, reliving that moment. Yeah, and a really good actor, or any good actor, will get the emotion of that moment. Most people will connect with it's not a very subtle moment, but most people will connect with that. But in rehearsal, what you're doing is pretending that moment. So you're pretending the impact of that moment. What we're doing is very different, is actually, this is your character, you're driving the car, okay, through the lights, hit somebody. Your response will be instinctive. And if you're in character, if you're comfortable within the skin of the character, and you have that level of skill, you would instantly respond in a very, very natural way. And that's what training does for an actor, and that's what really good actors have. And that's what I'm always looking for when I'm casting, is that natural instinct. Some people really have it, some people don't. But the thing is, it's a type of actor. So people who do ADR, who go and dub movies, are really good. Who do all the crowd work. It's not like the dubbing they do in Germany, because that is all the lip sync stuff. That is where the main industry is in Germany. But over here with the ADR community, it's about doing all the side characters. So you basically go to an ADR session and say, okay, there's two guys over there. It's improv. So there's those two guys over there in that scene. Have a conversation. So they'll just go, okay, and two of the actors will wander off. Yeah, you two, go do it. So they'll go and stand off on mic, and then they'll just create a conversation in the movie. Yeah, a lot of ADR people work with us. Radio drama as well. A lot of radio comedy. People who do radio. Also some musicians as well, because they've got a sense of timing. They've got that instinct for timing. And because they're performers, and they just go, and they know how to be, and so they get into that right space as well. So it's, it's a really mixed bag. But some actors who just work in a very set way, they're phenomenal on stage. They walk into this environment, they'll ask for the script in advance. And you go, it's this big, prints out like this, and your lines are not connected to each other. So your story curve is a maze, and that will lobotomize them. So they just go, they freeze, and some people just can't do it. They need to know that you need to understand their motivation to generate their motivation, and then so you're doing this stop and start thing. So you're never going to get a really natural flow, with your performance.
Hasn't Doug Cockle played in several Hollywood?
Oh, well, yeah, Doug Cockle. The reason I cast Doug, he is The Witcher. The Witcher series is quite a big RPG game series, and I thought it'd be quite funny to get Doug to play Nate, because The Witcher is just such a serious thing, and this completely hapless idiot, getting the same actor to play the same role would be a great relief for him, and it's because it's another big kind of role, guy with sword who is just useless, apart from guy with sword goes and kills zombies and stuff. So I think, there's quite a lot of humour in the casting, so, but if you don't know about it, there's a lot of internal humour that goes on within the team as well, about getting people to, who play things and different things to come in and do something completely different. I love Monkus. Sorry, I just like Monkus. Yeah, he's my favourite character.
The one and only son of Archwitch Motroga, shapeshifter and evil genius.
Oh God, I can't tell you what my favourite Monkus line is in this. Mind you, there were some classic lines that were real laugh out loud lines. Oh, I'm neither. Ha 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 ha.
And I am neither.
And the first thing you notice about performance is that you want the performance to be as natural as possible. So, look at everything that actually gets in the way of the performance.
But not this time. But not this time. The Alliance will break, and the Kingdom of Shadows will rise.
In an ideal world, I wouldn't have the glass here. We'd be all in the same room.
How did you fool us like that?
Well, it wasn't easy. It took a master of intrigue to manage it.
You got all the hand gestures back and everything, yeah. Okay, here we go. But the only reason the glass is here is for noise pollution. It's like any recording studio.
Oh, so this is the part where the bad guy tells the hero his plan so he can scupper it at the last moment.
It's a bit more. So this is you know what I mean? The standard recording studio has always been built around this space. This is the most important space. Well, we schedule at about 1,000 words an hour, depending on the complexity and how well the script's prepared. That can go up considerably or come down considerably. So sometimes you have to do it paint by numbers. When it drops paint by numbers, it means you have to direct every single line. It's a slow process. Yeah, when we're working on another production we're working on here, we will do 1,000 words an hour. They will do about 200. Well, for the voice work, for the technical side, for the recording side, we record onto Pro Tools. We can record onto anything really, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Audition, it doesn't matter if it's anything. It's basically digital audio, and it's something that's going to put it properly onto a disc. On the software side, where we access the software, we have our own tools which are called creative dialogue tools, which basically bring all the game assets into the studio, and then they also bring all the audio assets from the sessions into the studio. So, sometimes you'll see me getting frustrated on where are the assets for this one, because we know somebody within about half an hour of a session finishing, I can click on a line in the script, and it'll play. So anything that's there. So if there's music and sound effects, you click on the line, everything will play that is pertinent to that line. So it's, we've developed this, and basically, it was one of the editors who started on a system, 15 years ago, trying to automate the editing process of actually being able to get file names from the script into the audio tools. So you didn't have to write in file names or copy and paste file names in. So he actually started by automating that. And then when we did this big RPG, it's when I did The Witcher. And I just thought we really need something to really handle the context, because what was happening, you've got a direction here who's talking to the actor, trying to explain the scene. Information is much more visual, and if you're not talking to the actor and they can see the scene, they can just act, and you're going to get this natural performance. So if you could drop the actor into the context, you're going to get this performance. So I started developing the tools for Witcher 2. So, there's lots of studios doing voice work now, but the way we work is quite unique, and the technology now is really mature, and it's just getting more and more advanced. So we've got all sorts of other sort of features and stuff. We mark the script as well for pickups. So the actors come in, they'll do their first session, then they'll come back for a pickup session before we even deliver it to the client. So what we'd normally do now is we'd spend the next 2 weeks playing through the whole game, playing through the whole script, looking at all the scenes. By Sunday, I'd have a build of the game with this audio and with this dialogue, the script in the game, that we could go through and tweak it. And then we just re-record, send it out to them, and reintegrate it again. And that would be normally before final delivery. This whole process is about the organics. It's about creating that organic flow. My best sessions are where I don't have to talk really. You just go. Once you get a really slick script, you just let it go. The scenes that just go through them. And the actor's never seen the lines before, and they're gone. And they've just created something magical that goes, oh yeah, that's really, really funny. And it says, oh yeah, I like that. There are some real magic moments in this. It's been a very entertaining game to work on, and I'm so bloody pleased to be working on it as well. Because it was like, I fell in love with Book of Unwritten Tales, because that was such a left of field thing from this completely unknown studio in Germany, and we got this. I just got a brief when the first one came along, and it was just like, well, do what you want. It's up to you.